to Five or Flop, a podcast for the best and worst historical fiction has to offer. I'm your host, Grace.
And I'm Erin, and each week we'll be reading a different historical fiction book to see if they're a five or a flop.
Our theme for season 4 is Reading Rainbow, which means queer and LGBT books from around the world. This week we're reading The House of Doors by Tan Twan Eng.
And boy, oh boy, are we going to be talking about this one.
I know. So let's get our personal stuff out of the way real quick and say, Erin, what's up with you?
Well, at this active moment in time, I did just get out of a Soul Cycle class like 20 minutes ago. So if I sound a little out of breath, I'm trying to control myself. I do now have ice in my water, thanks to Grace's home. So that's great. But in more exciting news, I'm going to my cousin's wedding this weekend in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Wonderful.
So I'm excited for that. Get to see my mom, get to see some family I haven't seen in a while. It's like an extended cousin.
Okay.
So it's like the part of the family I don't see all the time, which should be pretty nice.
Well, that's lovely.
Yes, I asked my mom because I literally last night, because I stupidly did not look into this before, I was like, is there a dress code or like bridal party colors I should not be wearing to this event? Luckily, my black dress is fine.
Okay. That's always the go-to.
I figured that was the safest dress for a wedding.
You can wear a black dress anywhere.
Yes, so thank you, Abercrombie & Fitch, for my lovely black dress.
Woohoo.
What's up with you?
I have a lot of baseball in my life this month, which is great because I love to go see the Nats.
Love to get a hot dog.
Yeah, we saw the Nats together this week, which was lovely. We went to Nats Night Out on Pride Weekend, which was also lovely. And sadly, you are not going, but a couple weekends from now, we're going to see the Savannah Bananas, which I am very excited for.
I am actually jealous I'm not going to that. I think that would be a really fun time, but I have a friend in town, so other priorities.
It actually turned out okay. At first, I was a bit offended by the people in the friend group who said they couldn't come, but it turned out perfectly because the bananas are so popular that they only let you buy 5 tickets at a time.
Oh, and I feel like, okay, to be fair, I feel like everyone had a reason to not go.
Well, you couldn't go because you're busy, but Ashley and Diana are going on the other night. They're playing 2 games.
Yes.
So everyone else was a taker, and with me, that adds up to 5. So
yeah, that's true.
It's all for the best. Now, I also see here, you're reading something that has a frowny face next to it.
Yes, I'm now allowed to put emojis in our Google document. I am back on my journey to the Lord of the Rings saga, as we know, which I am hating. Hated the movies. Hating the books more than the movies because you've mentioned on the pod how you have an issue when there's like italicized song lyrics.
Oh my god.
Well, that's like probably a good chunk of this book.
Well, that's good because you can just skip them.
Of all the Lord of the Rings. So data scientist Ashley has been rereading along with me.
But she likes them.
But she loves them. So we are in disagreement. My biggest issue is Gandalf. I think he's fucking useless and he really makes me mad.
Can you remind me why you're doing this?
Because Santiago's dad really likes Lord of the Rings, but also it's like I've never been a fantasy person, and I feel like if I'm gonna read fantasy, I should read the pinnacle of this genre to really just like solidify the fact that I don't like fantasy. But it's also because I watched the movies.
Well, at least in his defense, Santiago's dad is allied with us in that he doesn't like Love in the Time of Cholera.
That is true. That is very true. I don't know what his thoughts on Gandalf are. I will have to find out next time I see him.
Okay, you can let us know later.
But yes, I have very strong feelings about my dislike of Gandalf. I guess since I also am in the process of watching the movie series of The Hunger Games for the first time, I should read the books.
Ooh.
I read the first 2 in middle school and did not like them, which is why I didn't read the third and didn't watch the movies. But I like the movies a lot, so those might be my next audiobook journey. And
I bet you would come back to it with a super different perspective as a grown-up.
Yeah, and I think part of it was like not being like other girls.
100%. I understand.
I think that was part of it. But what you're reading does not have a frowny face next to it.
No, and I feel like I'm doing my Erin cosplay because it is a book by a previous pod author.
Ooh!
Yes, so I just read My Name is Amelia Del Val, which is the newest release by Isabel Allende. And it was very different, but also very similar to Violetta.
Okay.
In that it is just like the life story of its main female character. Violetta, it takes you from like birth to death. Amelia Del Val doesn't do that quite so much, so it's not as long. But it's about a woman who is born in San Francisco to a Chilean businessman and a nun in training.
Oh.
And then she grows up to become a journalist and goes to Chile to report on the Civil War.
That's cool. I like that.
Yes, her prose is just so like identifiable and so good.
Am I correct in thinking you've read more Isabel Allende than just these 2?
No, I bought her book that she came out with before this. It's called The Wind Knows My
Yes,
Name.
I've read that one.
Okay, and I haven't read it yet, but it's on my Kindle waiting for me to read it.
I liked that one.
So I will get to it, but I own a lot of other books that I haven't read
Okay,
yet.
and I read The Japanese Lover, I think it's called also.
Oh, and you weren't a fan of that one.
No, I didn't. It was very different than her other books, and I was not a fan.
Mm-hmm. The one that I think she's most known for is The House of Spirits, so I definitely want to read that.
I want to read that too. Was that a contender for us? Is that historical fiction?
I'm sure it is. I don't know why we didn't pick it. I think Violetta was not long out when we picked it.
And I know season 1 was around the world, so I'm sure location played a factor.
Oh yeah. I don't know if I even really know what House of Spirits is about. I'm not very, I don't know. Oh, it came out. Okay, yeah, it is Chile. Oh, it's about the Del Vals.
Oh.
So.
Connected?
Maybe.
Could be.
I'll look into that more.
Okay, well, we'll
anyway,
go back.
Speaking of books about a house, and speaking of frowny face emojis, let's talk about The House of Doors.
Yes, this is a book you do know something about, as you're about to share the synopsis.
The year is 1921. Leslie Hamlin and her husband Robert, a lawyer and war veteran, are living at Cassowary House on the Straits settlement of Penang. When Willie Somerset Maugham, a famed writer and old friend of Robert's, arrives for an extended visit with his secretary Gerald, the pair threatens a rift that could alter more lives than one. Maugham, one of the greatest novelists of his day, is beleaguered. Having long hidden his homosexuality, his unhappy and expensive marriage of convenience becomes unbearable after he loses his savings and the freedom to travel with Gerald. His career deflating, his health failing, Maugham arrives at Cassowary House in desperate need of a subject for his next book. Leslie, too, is enduring a marriage more duplicitous than it first appears. Maugham suspects an affair, and, learning of Leslie's past connection to the Chinese revolutionary Dr. Sun Yat-sen, decides to probe deeper. But as their friendship grows and Leslie confides in him about life in the Straits, Maugham discovers a far more surprising tale than he imagined, one that involves not only war and scandal, but the trial of an Englishwoman charged with murder. It is, to Maugham, a story worthy of fiction.
It's crazy that they call him Mong. Like, I know that's his name, but the entire book they call him Willie.
Also, this, if nothing else, this book has given me the knowledge of how to pronounce W. Somerset Maugham. Because in my head, I'm always like Mogham, which I know is wrong. There's just so many letters here for it to be pronounced that way.
And let me just say, the only character I even semi-enjoyed was, for entertainment factor, was Gerald, so glad he got mentioned.
We have some discussion to do about characters we liked, and none of them are the ones that are supposed to be important.
No.
So,
and Gerald wasn't even likable, he was just funny to me.
Yeah, he was very much comic relief.
Okay, so let's get into the author bio.
Yes, so I'll talk a little bit about Tan Twan Eng. He was born in Penang in the early 70s, and he grew up there and also in Kuala Lumpur, which is the capital city of Malaysia.
And they abbreviate that to KL in points in the book. It took me forever to figure out what that was.
They really throw you in with the vernacular, which is something I like about a book.
Yeah, no, I didn't have an issue, and with like location names, that's fine to me. That one did, and then as soon, like, at one point they mentioned, like,
Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah, and I was like, obvious. Like, I felt stupid.
We just don't live in a place or time where we're talking a lot about Kuala Lumpur.
Or abbreviations for it.
Exactly. So he identifies as Straits Chinese. That's, I feel like, kind of significant to the perspective from which he comes to writing the book. So we'll talk about that later in the historical accuracy section. This was his third book. It came out in 2023. He has two other books called The Gift of Rain and The Garden of Evening Mists, the latter of which was shortlisted for the Booker. The other two were longlisted for the Booker.
Which I do love that title, The Garden of Evening Mists.
It's very lovely. That was turned into a Malaysian film.
Oh!
So we'll have to see if we can get a hold of that. And if it has subtitles, if we can. But yeah, he seems to be very enmeshed with the Booker. He was a judge for the Booker International.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, I think it's called the International Booker. I don't know why it was typed like that. But he was a judge for that the same year that he was nominated. And I was very confused. They're two different prizes, so that's fine.
Okay.
But I feel like I'm going to say this here because I think it'll come up later. But he is very against an author trying to overly impose a moral or an imprint what he thinks the reader should take away from his book. And I have a little quote here that says, "The House of Doors is about the act of literary creation. which I think is interesting because that's not what I would think that this book is about.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't think this book really created anything, but I do think it's an interesting and valuable perspective to hold the viewpoint that an author should not be imposing a lesson or, a moral stance. I think that's completely fair and completely valid.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, have you ever read anything else by Tan Twan Eng or heard of him before? Because the answer for me on both counts was no.
No, not at all.
Okay. Well, would you like to give our disclaimer? Because it is super relevant this week.
Super relevant. Our judgments come based on the book and characters within the book rather than any real historical figures they may have been based on, which we do have quite a number of, as I believe we will be going over in historical accuracy.
Oh, yes.
And also spoilers ahead.
All right. I was really excited to read this. I don't really know why. I didn't even know what it was about until I picked it up and started reading it.
I'm going to be honest, it has a beautiful cover, and I think that's part of it.
It has a beautiful cover, and I just thought it had a nice title. I don't know. I was just like, this will be great. No, it was horrendous. I hated this book.
The entire time I kept thinking it was going to be getting better, and it just fucking didn't. I never cared about anyone in the book, and I did not grow to care about a single, not even just like extensively hate them. I just did not care what happened to these people.
Oh, I extensively hated them. When in the beginning you get introduced to all the characters, none of them are likable. And then you think, okay, as goes on, more things will be revealed about them that make you maybe like them or maybe just care about them. I'm not one of those people that thinks all book characters need to be likable. You just need to care or be invested or be fascinated by them. But I actually hated them all, basically. And I did not care about their lives or whether or not they were miserable. I did not care. I did not care.
No, I did not care. Like I said, the only one who was entertaining to me was Gerald, excuse me. And his whole shtick was just like, okay, money, please. Give me money, Willie. And then when Willie goes broke, he's like, okay, well, bye.
Yeah, like, what do you want me to do? The only characters that I liked, I enjoyed Siri, who is W. Somerset Maugham's wife, obviously based on a real historical figure. And they try and convince you that she's this like horrible, greedy, like harpy bitch. But what actually happens is that she's just like a woman with a vivacious personality who is in love with her husband. And unfortunately for her, her husband is both gay and hates her guts.
Hates her so much.
Like, he is so fucking mean to her. I'm completely on her side. Whenever they're like, oh, like, Siri is killing me. I'm like, okay, you chose to marry her. And she loves you. And you're, anyway.
And
so
also, you have like a 6-year-old daughter together.
Yeah. So when she's like, will you please stay home instead of traveling the world with Gerald the secretary who's using you for money? He's like, no.
What was fascinating to me before we even get into the plot is just like I don't know if they had that on your book jacket, but there were like a billion quotes of like, oh, the twists and turns, like what a plot reveal. I thought everything was so fucking predictable.
It was. Okay, so here, we have some points to merge here, so I'll describe the other character who I did not hate. And that is Robert. So our main character is Leslie. Robert is her husband.
Leslie, spelled weird.
Lesley.
Yes.
Robert is her husband. And I am going to say up front, he does cheat on her, which is not acceptable. However, she cheats on him also, so I kind of consider that a wash.
Yeah.
And he is gay. And again, like, you probably shouldn't get married to a woman if you're gay. But, what else is a man to do in 1910?
Exactly.
So he is a war veteran. He was mustard gassed, and he has PTSD. And Leslie could not give a shit.
She does not give a flying fuck.
It's not even like, oh, our marriage is bad, but like, I feel bad for him about this thing. He's like, my doctors have told me I need to move somewhere else. And she's like, I don't know. Like, I don't care about your gassed lungs. No.
It was very Four Winds when they had to move because of the boy who couldn't breathe the air because he had asthma.
Yeah.
It was like that, except
if they hadn't moved.
Yeah, except she was just saying no.
So then your thing is the twists and turns and like blah, blah, blah. Leslie spends the beginning of the book thinking that Robert is having an affair. And then she finds out he is having an affair, but it's with a man. Gasp.
And like, was that the shock? Was that because I saw that coming as soon as at the beginning of the book, she was like, Willie is sleeping with his male secretary. Oh my God. Like, yeah, obviously.
So that's the other big thing about this book. every single character is some kind of bigot. And all of the women hate gay people. All of the men hate women. All of the white people hate the Chinese people. Like all of them uniformly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so exhausting. And the reason that I shared that quote about like, I don't think that authors should impose any sort of moral, like blah, blah, blah. I think the author, goes so far with it that the book is telling me nothing. Like, there's no clue about whether or not it is appropriate for these people to have these feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because, spoiler, the man that Robert is having an affair with is Chinese. And there's a line where Leslie is like, oh my gosh, it's one thing for him to be sleeping with a man, but a Chinese man is another thing. And it's like, oh my God, like, this is our protagonist.
And then the man she has an affair with is also Chinese.
And that comes out, you find that out after. And I'm like, this poor man, like, and then you can't even think, oh, this poor man having an affair with this racist woman because he has a wife who he hates.
They're all just the worst group of people in the world.
No, like, it's so horrendous. The characters are so bad. And it's not saved by the plot because the plot is not, there's not much.
So this is kind of, like, this has what could be a very interesting framing style. Like, it kind of jumps between the years and it's set up as though, so Willie needs to sell a story to make money again. And so Leslie is going back and telling him all of this story about, you know, the affairs with her and her husband, her friend who was on murder trial, which we'll talk about that whole thing at another point. And so it's like the framing device could be interesting and could allow for some like easy built-in cliffhangers in the book, you know, as it jumps back to the present, etc. But the framing device it's like a, 300 something page book. The framing device comes in at like page 120 or something.
Yeah, like you get so much lead up to the book. The present time with W. Somerset Maugham, when he and Gerald come to stay in Malaysia with Robert and Leslie, is early 1920s. And then Leslie's story that she's telling about Sun Yat-sen, who we'll get to, is in 1910 or so. So it's a 10-year, like, jumping back and forth. But they don't start doing it until really late in the book.
Yeah. And that is where the framing device fails for me. Like, I'm on board with that premise if it had started earlier and also if something happened in this book.
Yeah, it wasn't organized tightly enough for that to make a difference.
No. Before we get into more of like the plot details, one more thing I'll say, characters, writing style, etc. It really reminded me of Euphoria by Lily King in terms of writing and characters. And I fucking hate that book. Like, within the first 20 pages, I was like, wow, this is really similar to something. And then I was like, oh, it's Euphoria.
Oh, it's that book that I don't like.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I thought at the beginning, I was like, oh, this is not going that well, especially when I think genuinely, I would not be surprised if his editor came to him and was like, hello, Mr. Tan Twan Eng. I would like to challenge you to put the word veranda on every page.
Jesus Christ.
Because he basically does. Like, I understand in Malaysia, you probably, if you have a veranda, you spend a lot of time on it. I don't need to hear about it. I really don't.
There are other words you can use.
There's so many verandas. It's just, yeah, it's not organized well. And you can tell from the beginning, the tone that it sets at the beginning does not change.
No. Should we talk about, like, the actual, what's actually happening in the book?
Let's.
So we've covered the part, so Leslie is telling her story. Willie is going to use that for his writing.
And they establish ahead of time that Leslie knows this. Because they talk about a story that he has recently published about a prostitute, and he used the woman he met in real life's real name.
Yes.
So Leslie knows going in, if I tell him these things, he will publish them. And then you have this little contrived thing at the end where he's like, well, isn't Arthur, the guy she had an affair with, isn't he going to be mad when I write about him? And she's like, oh, darling, you didn't really think I told you his real name? And it's like, okay, you're so smart, whatever. Yeah. So she is telling him this stuff knowing it's going to get printed.
Exactly. She's telling it, but it's not written like she's telling it. It's written like it's happening.
Yeah.
Which I do prefer.
Yeah.
But, so it's, I don't even know what to talk. Like it's the affair. She finds out about it. She finds out it's with the man. And then I think there's two threads, one with Ethel and one with like her getting involved with these like revolutionaries, which is where she meets Arthur.
Yeah. So here, I'll talk about Ethel and you can talk about Sun Yat-sen.
Do I remember anything that happened with Sun Yat-sen?
I'll talk about Sun Yat-sen, you talk about Ethel.
Amazing. I can fill in a little bit of the details.
Okay. So basically nothing happens with Sun Yat-sen.
And I think that's why it's so hard to remember.
Everyone in the present timeline thinks that Leslie and Sun Yat-sen had an affair.
Mm-hmm.
Again, which is crazy because we established quickly that she doesn't like Chinese men and he doesn't like women. I don't know if that reflects on the real Sun Yat-sen or not.
He also has like 2 wives, and she mentions maybe every single page how much that disgusts her.
Yeah, and it's like, I get it. Like, I wouldn't like that either. But at a certain point, you have to get over it.
Especially if you're out there cheating on your husband's out there cheating on you. Like,
yeah, like what moral authority are you?
Exactly.
But Sun Yat-sen comes to Malaysia to raise money from the Straits Chinese for his proposed revolution. He's trying to overthrow the Qing dynasty. And she gets really invested in this cause, and everyone thinks that they're having an affair. It turns out that she's actually having an affair with this other guy, which is not a plot twist because who it's a fictional character. Like, yeah. It's not weird that she's having an affair with a guy that Tan Twan Eng made up.
Yes.
So then they end up splitting up because the son of the guy she's having an affair with is in China being a revolutionary. And then the affair partner is like, I have to go be with him. Leslie's like, I'll wait for you forever. Sun Yat-sen leaves and he never comes back because he doesn't live there. And why would he come back?
And he's not central to the plot at all. But they make him out to be the central piece of the plot.
I would argue that Ethel is much more central to the plot than Sun Yat-sen.
So Ethel is Leslie's good friend, and she is on trial for having killed a man that she accused of trying to rape her. And so it comes out that Ethel had been having an affair with this man, and she's like, oh, like, I was calling it off that night. And then in the trial, they're like, lady, there's like 6 bullets in this man. There's no way this was just like a self-defense thing.
Yeah. And crucially, Leslie wants her to tell people we were having an affair because then it lends more credence to her case.
It would give him justifiability for why he showed up at the house that night. That was also the biggest question of why was he there.
Then why is he there? And she says, like, I can't give up my reputation. I can't do that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so she goes to trial and they say she's going to be hanged. Like, she's guilty. She murdered this man. And then she, like, appeals to the government to, like, get a pardon or something. And then everyone is, like, so disgusted with her. They're like, how dare you subject yourself to this other culture's government and not, like, prove your supremacy as a white woman, like, all of this shit.
Yeah, people are like, you have let down the white people by murdering this man.
No, by asking to be, like, the case to be overturned, specifically. And so that her and her daughter, like, leave. But as she's leaving, she tells Leslie, notably, like, my brother and my husband and father made me do it. And then it, like, comes out that, I think Robert knew about that.
Robert knew about it, but he couldn't say anything because of attorney-client privilege.
Yes. So it comes out that the person that Ethel had been having the affair with, William, her husband is also named William. So I will just say husband and lover. Her lover was, like, being blackmailed by the husband, and then the lover was like, okay, well, I'm sleeping with your wife, and I'm just going to tell everyone I'm sleeping with your wife. Stop extorting me for money. And then the husband is like, you have to kill this man.
And she's like, no, I don't think I will. I'll divorce you. And then her dad is like, well, if you divorce your husband, I won't take you back. You have to sleep on the street. So you do have to murder this man.
Yeah, and that's the big plot twist. Ethel, this whole case was a real case. I don't know if this scandal was contrived or not. I'm sure we'll get there in historical accuracy. But basically, that's the piece of Willie's set of, like, short stories that becomes really famous. And there's a movie based on it called The Letter that was, like, really famous.
And the short story is also called The Letter.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a real movie. I think Betty Davis, right,
Mm-hmm.
was in it. Yeah. And so that's the Ethel piece. And again, Ethel is supposed to be this main piece, but like, we barely get her on the page.
It loops back into W. Somerset Maugham, but only in the sense that he writes this book. It's not really present in his plot that has to do with his life situation with his gay lover and his wife. And then the Sun Yat-sen piece is not connected to either of those things.
At all.
Because it's so, like, I even wrote here, there's a part where Leslie goes, they have this reading club, which is like a front for the political organization.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes there all the time. And she goes when Sun Yat-sen is making a speech to try and convince people to give him money. And Tan Twan Eng doesn't even bother to write the speech. He just puts in a sentence. It's like a placeholder sentence where it's like, he gives a brilliant, amazing speech that convinces everyone in the room.
Insert speech here.
And it's like, it would be nice to know what he said. There's a lot of moments like that where it's skipping over the important parts of the dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we also need mention, there is a prologue and epilogue to this book.
Yes.
Where Leslie, it's farther in the future.
It's like in the 40s.
Yeah. I was like, I couldn't say when and I don't care. Leslie is now a widow. Robert has died from his mustard gas lungs.
They did move to South Africa.
Yes, she's on a farm in South Africa. And in the mail, in the prologue, she's gotten a copy in the mail of a W. Somerset Maugham book, which is The Casuarina Tree, which is, I think, a collection of short stories, actually. And that is the one that he in real life wrote about inspired by his travels in Malaysia and South Asia. And it has this symbol stamped on the inside of the book. In the prologue, clearly she knows what that means. We as the reader don't know what that means. Mm-hmm. In the epilogue, it turns out that this has been sent to her from the lover that she had the affair with like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a symbol that like, it's a sign that they're going to reunite. And I'm like, no way they liked each other enough to wait like 20 years or something to be in contact again. There's just no way. There's just no way. Oh, and the title, The House of Doors. It's literally just because this guy collects doors, the lover.
Yeah. It's like, I thought it was going to have like really big symbolic meaning. No.
I was like, oh, the house they live in is the House of Doors. No, it's the house that they go to have sex.
I have this book on the table and Santiago looks at it and goes, oh yeah, The House of Doors, or as I call it, any house. And I'm like, yeah, honestly.
So, I don't know. It's a book with a very little plot. A lot of historical characters given the amount of time that they get, and bad people, and I don't like it. Unfortunately for Tan Twan Eng, I haven't read his other books. Maybe they're really, really good. I don't know how this guy keeps getting longlisted for prizes, because I would not give him any prize.
I would not give him a single prize.
I'm so sorry. Like, not the Pulitzer, not the Lambda Literary Award, not the Stonewall Book Award. No prizes.
None of them.
So, that's what I have to say. I thought this was quite bad. Oh, here's my only other thing that I have to say.
Okay.
In the beginning, there are all of those rumors, and people are, like, whispering them in W. Somerset Maugham's ear, being like, you know that woman had an affair with Sun Yat-sen. You know that Leslie woman had an affair with Sun Yat-sen. But she wasn't having an affair with him. And she didn't actually even really like him. She supported his cause and stuff, but she didn't like him because, remember, he had 2 wives.
Yes.
So why do people think that she had an affair with him?
No idea.
Is it to mislead the reader? Is that the only purpose? Because I think it's the only purpose.
I guess that supposedly it was because she had gone to the meetings, but also so had other people. Like, she wasn't alone with this man ever.
There were public meetings. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else to say?
No. I'm just glad it's over. It felt so long, and yet it was one of the shorter books we read this season.
Yeah. This might be my least favorite book for this season. It's close. I haven't decided yet.
I have to revisit my list. I have not been keeping up my list, so I will have to revisit that, but it's down towards the bottom.
It's towards the bottom. We'll do, at the end of our season, we do our delightful ranking and
of
recap.
Course.
All right.
We're going to have, usually I think we're like 3 flops this season. Not this. I'm so sorry.
This is a high percentage of flops this season.
I'm so sorry to us having to do this.
Yeah, it's actually might be good for the listeners because I feel like it's more interesting when stuff's bad than when it's good, unless it's a thing that you've read that you agree is good.
Yes.
I don't know. All right, I'm diving in.
Okay.
So I have decided because there's actually so many real people in this book, I could have researched forever. So I decided I was going to limit myself to researching three historical figures, the main ones, W.
Mm-hmm.
Somerset Maugham, Sun Yat-sen, and Ethel Proudlock, who was the murderess,
Mm-hmm.
specifically during the time period that was represented in the book.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to do Sun Yat-sen's whole life.
No.
That would have been crazy. And
this book did not inspire me to care about him, so.
No. And the thing is, he's clearly very interesting.
Yes.
Which is unfortunate.
This book is a disservice to him.
It's what we said about Mata Hari.
Yeah.
It's like, she's clearly a very interesting lady.
Yes.
So, just for a basis of, this overlays all of it, Penang was a British colony from 1826 until the end of World War II.
Okay.
So, all of the white people that we're talking about are British people. And then you have the Malaysians who are native to the area. And then you have the Straits Chinese or the overseas Chinese. And those are people who are born in Malaysia, but they are ethnically Chinese.
Gotcha.
So they are, not quite mainland Chinese. They're not quite Malaysian. They are Straits Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said at the beginning, Tan Twan Eng himself is Straits Chinese.
Gotcha.
So first let's talk about W. Somerset Maugham. So he was famous, as it said in the book, for writing stories without changing names or details to obscure where he got them.
Mm-hmm.
In real life, when he published The Casuarina Tree in 1926, that book was very despised by the community of English in Malaysia because they thought that he had made them look bad. And he did go to Malaysia in 1921 with Gerald Haxton, who was his secretary. And they made mention in the book that Gerald was caught with a man in Britain and that he could not return.
Mm-hmm.
It was intimated that Siri, who is Mom's wife, had like high up connections that kept him out of the country. That's not confirmed though, but it is like a real life rumor. Tan Twan Eng didn't make that up. And then this I pasted in this is a quote from Wikipedia. I don't research only on Wikipedia, but I always start there because I think it's a good place to start. And this sentence just made me laugh with kind of how mean it is. It was talking about his wife and how they were married. And then it said, the marriage lasted for 12 years, but before, during, and after the marriage, Mom's principal partner was a younger man named Gerald Haxton.
Jesus, devastating.
Before, during, and after. That is
absolutely
a dunk if I have ever heard one.
Absolutely devastating.
Anyway, and we'll circle back to his story, the letter, in the section about Ethel. So we'll get to that at the end. I don't have that much to say about Sun Yat-sen because the book did not either. But the reading club in the book that Leslie goes to is a real building, and it's now the Sun Yat-sen Museum, Penang. Mm-hmm. You can rent it out for like events and stuff. It's a very beautiful house. I would have a wedding there. And that is the house where he came to raise money from the overseas Chinese people in 1910 and 1911 to overthrow the Qing dynasty. He also had the house serve as the headquarters for his political movement, Tong Nang Hui, which Leslie's lover's son joins and then goes off to China to fight. And then that's why the lover goes to China.
Gotcha.
So it's a real house. It's very beautiful. You can visit it because it's a museum. Other than that, Sun Yat-sen did not have that much of a connection to Malaysia. In the book, they are like, he came for this brief period of time and then he left. And the synopsis made it seem like he had this great rippling impact on these people and they were never the same, but that does not seem to be true. So then Ethel Proudlock, as I was reading the book, I don't know about you, I did not have a sense that this was a real murder case until I got to the part where they were on trial. And I was like, oh, all of this stuff is very specific. And then it turns out this was a real person.
So I knew because I was checking to see how many pages I had left. And in the end, in like the historical notes, acknowledgments, whatever, there was a mention that he moved the trial date a year earlier to line up with Sun Yat-sen being in Penang.
Yes.
So I knew because of that, but I mean, that wasn't really a spoiler, but...
Yeah. The reason I noticed is because when in the scene where Ethel's husband was being cross-examined, for some reason, it comes up that she has this very specific disease that has to deal with, trigger warning, having insane amounts of like vaginal discharge.
Okay.
And I was immediately like, no one would make that up. Like, that is too irrelevant to be made up. And then I Googled it, and it turns out I was right. So
imagine he just did that to her for fun.
Yeah. So anyway, what we know in real life that is true in the book is that William Stewart came over when Ethel was home alone and her husband was off having dinner somewhere else. She shot him 6 times. She said that it was self-defense, that he was trying to assault her. That did not fly. And she was sentenced, and then the death sentence was commuted, and she had to leave Malaysia, go back to Europe. The British community was like, you've done us bad, you've made us look bad in front of the non-white people. Mm-hmm. So the things that Tan Twan Eng here has kind of postulated that is not based on anything are the idea that Ethel and Stewart were having an affair beforehand. Mm-hmm. I think that's not impossible, but there's no proof of that.
Yeah.
And then also he completely made up out of whole cloth this idea that she did it because her husband made her do it.
Which, like, didn't add anything for me.
And it didn't add up either. It seemed far-fetched. To murder a guy that you're trying to break up with because he's going to tell your husband that he's been sleeping with you, mm-hmm. that makes sense. Yeah. Like, I mean, you shouldn't do it, but I understand why people would. So that becomes the basis for the W. Somerset mom story, The Letter. And, however, this was interesting to me. In the letter, in the story version, Ethel's character is called Leslie.
Oh.
And Leslie's husband is called Robert.
Oh, I like that nod.
Yeah, and then the lover's last name is Hammond. In this version of the book, they're the Hamlins, mm-hmm. Leslie and Robert Hamlin. So I thought that was a creative little nod from Tan Twan Eng to the original story. And then it also ties back in when he is saying, like, oh, I use people's real names. So assuming that these 2 characters that were invented for the House of Doors, Robert and Leslie, were real, then he would have used their names.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, otherwise, there is a lot of history in this book, and it was just not in a good enough book to be good.
No, this was one of those cases where it's like, yes, everything's accurate, but it wasn't used well.
Yeah, and all of these people are interesting in different levels. Like, I think Ethel Proudlock, there's not a lot of information on her specifically. I think some of W. Somerset mom's life is probably a bit more boring than someone like Sun Yat-sen's. Mm-hmm. But, you know, the end product was quite bad, I have to say.
Yeah. Shall we get to the star calculator?
I think we should.
Well, I'm entering my scores in right now.
Why don't I read the categories then?
That would be delightful.
Our categories are historical accuracy, originality, characters, prose, and vibes. I'm going to go first. Okay. For historical accuracy, I actually am going to give it a 4. I was surprised by the amount that I found and the amount that was correct and like well interpreted. Mm-hmm. The few changes that were made, I don't quibble with those. They're the type of Hamnet change that I think historical fiction is good for. Yep. Like a Hamnet license for artistry, I guess.
I love a Hamnet license.
Yeah, and I could have done so much more research. I just cut myself off. So I'm going to give it a 4. Originality, 3. I think it's not a crazy original premise, but this setting, these people, you know, it's interesting to tie all of it together like that. So fine. Characters, 1. There's no book that we've read for the pod that I've rated worse than, like, even if other books have gotten a 1 before, and I'd have to go back and check, this is worse. Yeah. All of them are so bad. Prose, 3. It was fine. It was whatever. Vibes, 1. I hated reading this the entire time I was reading it. So that's a 2.4. I gave this a 2 on Storygraph, and I went back and I looked at it today and debated knocking it down lower, and I decided that the prose was, like, serviceably enough crafted to not put it lower, because the other things that I've rated lower on Storygraph are some like really heinous like Kindle Unlimited books. So that's a 2.4. A 2 is what it deserves, if not worse.
What is so interesting to me, Grace, is that you are very not generous when rating highly, but very generous when you don't like a book. Because you hated this book more than I did, and I rated it lower than you. But if you like if we both like a book and you like it more than me, I will still rate it higher than you. So it's very interesting. But Historical accuracy, yeah, I went with the 3. I think the changes that were made were appropriate. I don't think the history really served this book as well as it could. And I think that's more due to the limitations of the rest of the book.
That's super true.
Originally, I give it a 3. I agree with what you said. Like, I liked how it was tied together. Was it executed well? No, but that's okay to me for a 3. Characters, 1, atrocious. Prose, 1, reminded me too much of Euphoria, and I didn't like the writing style of it at all. Vibes, 1, and this is a 1.8. I think I gave it like a 1.75 on Storygraph. But yeah, conclusive flop for us both.
And I will say, it has been a very flop-heavy season. That is true. However, we haven't had an agreed-upon flop in a few episodes now.
Yes.
So we're back to our roots, aka the beginning of the season.
Yes.
And I don't know. You'll have to come back next week to see what we think about next week's book. Because it's a toss-up.
It is Dead Girls by Nikesa Afia.
And in the meantime, you should check out our social medias, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at @5forflop_pod. And we're almost to the end of the season, so you should definitely look at our Storygraph reading challenge.
Is it wrong
to
say,
we're going to finish it off with?
Is it wrong to say, thank fucking God we're almost done? Who knows? We could have all 5s the rest of the season. You have to tune in and see.
Absolutely. What else should they do if there are books that we aren't reading? If people want to recommend us some actual 5s.
Yeah, you can check out that recommendation form in the bio of any of our socials, or you can shoot us an email at 5forfloppodcast@gmail.com.
And in the meantime,
happy reading!
Bye!